Good morning. I'm going to call to order the County Council Economic Development Workshop. This is Tuesday, May 12th. It's 9 a.m. We have a couple of council members online. We have Mr. Reitz, Ms. Howard, and who's that there? Oh, Mr. Cunningham. So please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And just a thank you to our council members and staff. We didn't leave till 10 p.m. last night, so if we're a little bleary-eyed, you know what the reason is.
Oh, yeah, I have my coffee in the car.
Okay, so we're, Ms. Brock, statement of compliance with FOIA. Have we complied?
Yes, ma'am, we have.
All right. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'm in motion to amend the agenda for public comment.
All right. Do I
We need to approve it first so you
Yeah,
can amend
let's
it.
approve
Okay,
first.
excuse me.
I'll make the.
I knew you
Okay.
would. Mr. Passman will make the motion. A
course.
second?
Yeah, second it.
Okay, Ms. Brown seconds it. And now you can make your amendment.
I'd like to motion to amend the agenda for public comment that was left out, sorry.
All right. Do I have
second that.
a second by Mr. Bartholomew? All in favor of amending the agenda to add public comment, which is normally part of our workshop. It just was amended. All right, thank you. All right. And now we have to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor of that, approving as
Aye.
amended? All right, thank you. Okay, so now we'll do public comment. And I have several. Felice Lamarca, come up front. I have three. If anybody else wanted to sign up and you didn't know we were doing it, see Octavia or Ashley.
Good morning, Felice Lamarca, and this is early.
Yeah.
We had a late night. Thank you for serving. It's not easy, and some of us understand that. The presentation before us today has left me with more questions than answers. Why are businesses dependent on the EDC to stay in business? Even successful businesses, when they want to expand, they don't go to the mortgage company, they need EDC help, BC EDC. See pages 18 and 20. See page 29, a county department model where the county directly operates economic development functions, as many other counties do. Well, I say good. Take it in-house and save us some money and operate it. How are strategies to be accomplished? Give us real measurements, not words. How many years and how much of our money does it take for you to ask the tough questions? Trust. You know I bring that up all the time. Based on how the BC EDC has behaved towards you and us taxpayers, I believe you should defund them. Remember the Cultural Arts Center on St. Helena? You voted to not fund the purchase of the overpriced land. But our BC EDC found a way around you and gave our state taxpayer money to the Open Land Trust to bypass citizen control. The BC EDC conspired to get around you citizen representation. Questions. Senator Davis and the BC EDC and OLT were to draft an agreement to ensure compliance with the state. Was that done? 2, since the county has previously funded the BC EDC, has the county been indemnified in this transaction, or did they transfer the funds without that agreement? Then there's the sale by the city of Beaufort of parcels on the Commerce Park and their attempt to get $1 million grant. Mr. O'Teal said that the city, after they voted not to give the grant, said that the city was in fact going to spend the $1 million on the Commerce Park. I have yet to see that in writing from the city of Beaufort or said in open session to its citizens. I don't believe we're ever told the truth by this organization. It's your job to take care of our money in this county. This is not an entity you want managing our resources or our money. You are all accountable. The BC EDC is not. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lamarca. Second, we have Paul Trask. Thank you for the beat.
Good morning. I saw most of you last night, or all of you. Thank you
Yes, you
again for
did.
being here this morning. So I'm not a fan of the BCEDC. After years of funding, BCEDC cannot demonstrate meaningful economic diversification. Beaufort County remains overwhelmingly dependent on coastal attraction and retiree migration, market-driven retail and hospitality, associated construction, tourism, and government military spending. BCEDC is very good at announcements and glossy projections, but not verified long-term results. Where's the independent verification showing viable, well-capitalized companies remaining long-term, sustained higher salaries, and measurable taxpayer return on investment? Why is it that you never hear a word about projects, BCEDC promoted projects that don't work, that fail? BCEDC has drifted into speculative real estate facilitation, speculative industrial buildings, speculative land deals, speculative carrying cost subsidies. If such projects were truly strong market opportunities, private capital would assume the risk without taxpayer involvement. The Site and Job Fund has subsidized the speculation that private capital itself would not otherwise undertake. And private developers capture appreciation and profit if the projects succeed. I would like to highlight two purchases. This one in April of '25 for the parcel behind Modern Track Machinery. Is there a strategy? Probably we'll hear about it, but I don't know if there's a viable strategy. Then another one this past year for the 117 acres, 5 of which acres are polluted, $1,495,000 purchase BCEDC now owns. Is there a strategy there? I mean, a fish farm or a meat packing, I mean, we haven't heard an update on any of that. And is that even viable? Beaufort County is the opposite of most counties. We have proven and sustained ongoing residential migration, rising property values, affluent demographics, tourism demand, substantial private investment. Beaufort County's problem is managing growth, not creating growth. After years of funding, what substantial economic transformation has BCEDC produced that would not otherwise have been produced by the private sector?
Thank you, Mr.
My time
Trask.
is up. I'd like to leave a copy of my comments with the clerk.
If you'd give it to Ms. Brock, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, Graham Trask, you're third. Morning.
My name's Graham Trask. I live at 1211 Bay Street. I'm here to provide some insight into the BCEDC, objective insight. In pursuit of, the BCEDC in 6 years has handed out $6.1 million. The county has spent over $3 million in operating costs for the BCEDC. That's $9.1 million of county spending in 6 years. The operating cost for the BCEDC is 50 cents on every dollar it hands out. 50 cents operating cost on every dollar that it hands out. A typical venture capital fund is 2%. They're 50%. The BCEDC, in its 54-page presentation in front of you, will emphatically assert that it has created significant value. It represents, it's taken $6.1 million and turned it into $765 million of property value. Page 54, look at it. This amounts to a return of 12,700%. It's a lie to confuse you. The BCEDC gave Glassworks $2.4 million. Glassworks is bankrupt. That leaves $3.7 million. Of that $3.7 million, 67 jobs have been created at a wage rate of $38,000. That's equivalent to a McDonald's cook. High-paying jobs? No. In total, as I've said, the BCEDC has spent $9.2 million. That is, and it's created 146 jobs, excluding Glassworks, which went bankrupt. That's $63,000 per job. For $43,000 jobs. I know you're going to cut me off. I put a lot of work into this, I want you to know. The bottom line, and I'm going to give you this, is that the BCEDC has been an abject failure. It needs to be defunded, and it needs to be defunded now. It's a waste of taxpayer resources. Whatever they have done is a rounding error on private investment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have a statement, you could leave it with Ms.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trask. Okay, number 4, Mayor Decker. Mr. McKellen has joined us online.
Good morning, Council. I just wanted to talk about a couple of agreements that the BCEDC entered into in the last few years, and I just question the value of these agreements and how they benefit our community and the people of Beaufort County, and how they meet the mission as Council has stated repeatedly for this organization. In June 2021, the BCEDC engaged Convergent Nonprofit Solutions to conduct a study to determine the feasibility of launching a campaign for companies to invest. And the cost of this agreement and the expenses associated with it came out to $31,076, give or take. And I would like to know if the goal, which was a goal range of $800,000 to $1 million of investment by private companies, was ever realized. And number 2, the BCEDC entered into a grant agreement in 2022 for the 2023 year with a new nonprofit. And there was a questionable agreement as to whether anything was actually produced. They spent another $1,600 to have an economic analysis done, which in my view just read like drivel. But more importantly, it was discovered and disclosed by the BCEDC that they paid $14,000 in rent for this organization that received the $75,000 grant. And I would like to know how council determines that paying rent for an organization that received a grant that questionable merit also received $14,000 in rent payments. And is that what this organization is about, is paying other organizations rent? So those are the questions that I have. I think they're very legitimate. I don't think they fit in the mission, as council has repeatedly emphasized, and most importantly in their last resolution, as to what this organization is supposed to be focused on. So I would like to know what council thinks of those agreements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Anybody else that didn't get to sign up and speak? All right, thank you. We will close public comment.
Yeah, my name's John O'Toole. I live at 26 Three Mast Lane on Hilton Head. I just wanted to comment on Glassworks, because if I leave that out there for a long time, it might become known as truth, what was said. Beaufort County did not give Glassworks any cash incentive to be here. You heard one of the speakers say 2.4 million. We did not give them a penny. We gave them a FELO agreement. The Beaufort County County Council approved a FELO agreement, which in fact, they were only in business for 5 years. Businesses sometimes don't make it. That's common, not desirable, but it happens. The council gave them a FELO, which made the way it was constructed, they actually paid $73,000 more in their first 5 years of business. They would have saved over the 20 years of the FELO. But the only thing that happened to Beaufort by encouraging that company to invest $15 million at the Parker Drive site was that money was invested in Beaufort, a building was kept in a good condition, and they actually paid $73,000 more in taxes. That's the net difference of our involvement with Glassworks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Toole. Okay, I'm going to close. No, public comment's going to be closed, yep.
That doesn't seem fair. He gets to respond to me.
Well, you can speak to him after, that'd be fine. Otherwise, we're going to have rebuttal after rebuttal, and I'm going to move along. Okay, so next, our agenda items, we're going to start with History of Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation, and I know it's in the packet, so if you want to, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go through it fairly quickly. I think some of the council members were on council during this time, but in 2012, let me bring it back. In the last 20 years, Beaufort County, the one county that struggled in South Carolina to figure out how to do economic development. And I'd invite you to contact the Department of Commerce to understand where we are today, or I know many of you go to the South Carolina County Council Association meetings, and you'll hear throughout today several councils. But to give you an idea, and in your packet, there's a link to a article. There was a slide here that disappeared, but there's a link, I believe, in your packet to a November 29th, 2015 article. Keep in mind, in 2012, the Low Country Economic Development Network, that ceased to exist. Then there was put in place the Low Country Economic Development Alliance, led at the time by Kim Statler. That ceased to exist in 2015. And then in 2015, that year, Bobby Hitt came to Beaufort County at an annual conference held by the real estate associations, Beaufort Jasper and Hilton Head Island Real Estate Association. Bobby Hitt came, and you know, some of the comments that appeared in the articles afterwards, my conversation with the South Carolina Department of Commerce is that they think we're an absolute joke. This is a quote from Billy Kaiserling, mayor at the time. They're not taking anything we say seriously because of our record. Commerce does not pay high respect to those who don't work together, and they haven't seen us do baloney in the last 20 years. So that's where Beaufort County was. I believe that was the tenor at the time. There's some conversation, you know, even today, you heard it from the public, and it remains, but there was a quote in here from Janet Grisham, who headed up the Beaufort County, heads up the Beaufort County Association of Realtors. We can't survive on tourism and military forever. So at its inception, Beaufort County was looked at as a two-legged stool. We had hospitality and tourism, we have defense, and your expectations, the council's expectations, the public's expectations, as you heard, is that we will work to diversify the economy. The mayors at the time, Kaiserling, Sulka, David Bennett, and Sam Murray from Port Royal, were really the driving force behind this. And then they got the county council to say we should get serious about economic development, form this corporation. And really where we are today is at a crossroads. Obviously, there's concern about results and the good and the bad and how to proceed, and that's hopefully what we'll have today. But to give you an idea, at the time, the county hired a national consultant called Camoin Associates. They went through a lengthy process of talking to all the stakeholders in Beaufort County. They went through creating a strategy, a work plan, which we inherited, and it was very well crafted. And at this point, we're looking to update it. In May of 27, they established performance metrics, and we'll discuss that. I do think economic development isn't just activities, but it's something that we should be able to measure and can measure. In June of 2017, there was a long-term commitment from the county and from the municipalities to fund it. Created partnerships with many of the partners you'll see in the presentation today. September 2017, I was hired, and just prior to that, we joined the Southern Carolina Alliance. So I was hired in September. At the same time, the county joined the Southern Carolina Alliance, and that is a pivotal part of South Carolina's delivery system for incentives and working on projects and developing leads. And so we are here where we are today. We'll get into the measurements. Hopefully we'll have a lively conversation about how we measure success. And then I'll ask my colleague Kelly Brunson to come up. It was suggested as we were putting this agenda together to give a little background on Economic Development 101. Council person Tabernick is our representative on the board of Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation. Tab, you sent us some notes, and in the course of our presentations today, I think most of those questions will be answered, or we can at least have a lively conversation on those points. So, Kelly?
Good morning, everybody. As John said, I'm Kelly Brunson, and I'm the Senior Project Manager for the BC EDC. We have here on our staff Brian Warner as well. We have our board of directors. We have each municipality represented, as well as the school district, USCB, TCL, county council, and our utilities as well. And I'd like to thank two of our board members for being here in the room today, Blakely Williams from Dominion Energy and Andrea Cicino from USCB. So moving on, we have just a little bit of a level set for you all today. So what is economic development? It's the process through which per capita income, tax revenue, and wealth are increased in a community by attracting investments and creating jobs. And successful economic development improves the quality of life in a community. And at the end of the day, it's not about business, it's about people and making sure that they are able to live and work in a community which they have chosen to be a part of. On the right-hand side, you have a graphic there from the South Carolina Department of Commerce, which kind of gives the vision, the mission, the goal, and objective, and what targets South Carolina is looking at. So specifically for South Carolina as a whole, they're looking at advanced manufacturing, life sciences, headquarters, office operations, back office operations. Specifically for Beaufort County, we like to look at light manufacturing. As you've heard in many of our presentations before, we don't want to do anything that will harm the environment. So we look to bring in those light manufacturing components. But some of the same target industries that the state of South Carolina is looking at, Beaufort County is also looking at as well. There are three main economic development activities, and that's developing new product, recruiting new industry, and our business retention expansion programs. So for an example of new product, this is at Buckwalter Place in Bluffton. And Tim Dolnick is the developer on this property. And if you're in Bluffton at Buckwalter Place, you can see that these buildings are coming along very nicely. They're 3,000 square feet tranches. So the buildings are divided up as 35,000 square feet total. And we've had several prospects within the last few months as these buildings are coming online being interested. I mean, it's almost a daily occurrence when I get a call about this product that's available. So it's flex warehouse space, and it's a great component. He also developed the property at Myrtle Park, which is behind the government building in Bluffton. Another example of product within economic development is the Magnus Spec Building, which was developed in the Beaufort Commerce Park. And we currently have two companies within that building, Norman Shutters, Blinds, and Shades, and Critical Role. And this was a $5.1 million investment in the building. Continuing on with product, we were able to purchase two pieces of land last year. This on Proctor Drive was purchased in April 2025. It's 14.77 acres. And in Beaufort County, you all know that we have a lot of water surrounding us. This is completely dry land, which is a rarity in Beaufort County. We took this parcel of land through the Palmetto Sites program through the Department of Commerce. And Brian Warner led that effort on our staff. And we received grant funding from the Department of Commerce for continued due diligence from the Department of Commerce, a value of $13,800. So at the end of the day, when this due diligence is completed, this site will be ready for any developer or company looking to come in. We've already done a lot of the legwork for due diligence for them. The other parcel of land that we purchased was 117 acres at Labico. This property is, I think, one of the few properties in Beaufort County actually zoned for industrial. So we're really excited about this property and the ability to have a meat processing facility, a fish farm. We have continued conversations with partners who are interested in helping us get to where we need to be. So our plan for this is to have this site completely pre-permitted for those two uses and everything. So we are working with an engineering firm, Davis & Floyd, on conceptuals for this property, and we're very excited to continue working on that. Our second part of economic development is recruiting new industry. And in I think next week, we have a ribbon cutting scheduled through the Beaufort Chamber of Commerce for MasterCore. They invested $35 million into the Beaufort Commerce Park, and they are a commercial laundry facility. So they were open December 31st of 2025, and there was a lot of, you may remember the story John told in January of us working up until 6 p.m. on New Year's Eve to get them their temporary certificate of occupancy through the city of Beaufort. The building inspector was there till 6 p.m. to make sure that they were able to open on time. Which is really important and goes back to one of our three pillars is outstanding customer service and making sure that we are treating our companies to the best of our ability. We also announced CS Instruments last year in March. Their building in Bluffton on Pinellas Drive is coming along very nicely. They expect to be opened in November of this year. But they create instruments that measure air gas, and they are planning to hire 13 jobs at an average wage of $87,000 per year. Currently, they have a facility, an office building in Jasper County, and the CEO, or I'm sorry, not the CEO, but the head of Bluffton operations that you see in the picture there, Martin Zeller, he actually told me a couple weeks ago that he moved out of his office to go ahead and allow for some of the new hires to move in and have space to work in. So they're really, really excited to be in Beaufort County and to have their new building so that they all have office space. We also work with our existing businesses. So Gay Fish Company is a company that we supported a couple years ago for the building reconstruction of their dock and also their building. And if you drive out there right now, it looks like a major construction work zone. So through the Department of Agriculture, we were able to get them a $500,000 grant for that purchase or for that reconstruction. And then Beaufort County EDC also supported them with a $30,000 grant. And it's really nice to see that this is a business that has been in business in Beaufort County for 75 years, and to make sure that their legacy is still carried throughout. L3 Harris is another company on Hilton Head that has been here for 40 years, and they provide really good paying jobs for those on Hilton Head and living in Bluffton as well. We, like to make sure that this company is staying around because they're one of the largest defense manufacturers in the United States. As far as our business retention expansion program, Brian Warner on our staff has a goal of 90 visits per year, and you can see on the map there, those are just some of the ones that he's completed this year. So that's, since July, he is almost, I think he's 50% of the way there. As a part of one of our business retention expansion meetings, we learned that Spartina 449 was going to be expanding their operations into Bluffton. And so they established their headquarters, and there was a nice photo posted on social media last week that their building's vertical and that they're really nearing completion on that. So a little bit about incentives. The state of South Carolina, through the Department of Commerce, offers a few incentives, including income tax credits, sales tax exemptions, single factor apportionments. Then they also deliver discretionary grants, so job development credits and workforce training. At the local level, we can offer FELOs, and these all have to be approved by county council, property tax abatements, special source revenue credits, MCIPs, and other discretionary incentives like cash grants. These incentives are tied to performance agreements, and so they have to deliver a certain amount of capital investment and jobs. And we do yearly check-ins with them. So there's an Exhibit A to all of their performance agreements where they, on a yearly basis, on the anniversary date of signing that performance agreement, that they provide those numbers back to us. At the end of the 5 years, if they have not met their performance agreements for the capital investment and the job numbers, then there is what we call a clawback provision. And so they would owe, based on a formula, a certain amount back to the organization. So your role as elected officials in economic development is to provide the necessary resources to support local economic development organizations. We also, encourage investment in infrastructure, and that can be roads, utilities, all the things. Instill a pro-business climate in your community, and then maintain confidentiality prior to investment announcements. These are just some of the partners that we work with on a day-to-day basis. There are many more that could not fit on this slide, but these are a lot of the ones that the three of us talk to on a daily basis. And with that, I will take any questions that you all have for me.
Council members have a question?
Yeah, I do. Let's start with one of the slides where you show the two pieces of property. Can you
Yes.
go back to that,
Yes,
please?
sir.
That piece of property there,
Mm-hmm.
how much did it cost for the 14?
$460,000.
Who owns it?
BCEDC.
When an investor comes in to develop that property, is part of the, what are the incentives for someone to come?
So we would look at their investment, their job creation. We would sell the parcel to them. That's the ideal situation. And we would sell it for market value at that point. The funds would be from the purchase of that sale, or the sale of that purchase would be returned to Beaufort County in the Job and Site Fund, because that's what we use to purchase the land. We would look at, depending upon the company coming in, we would send that up to the Department of Commerce. They might provide some of those incentives that I had here. And then also at the local level, the FELOs, the SSRC, whatever makes sense at the time for that company.
And we've owned it for a year now?
Yes, I think it was April 18th, so just over a year.
And has any prospect come to say, this is a good site?
We have had, I think, at least 2 people look at the site. They wanted either existing facility or they didn't land in Beaufort County.
Let's go to the other site.
So,
That's the Libico site.
correct.
What was the cost?
We purchased it for 1.695, no, 1,500,000.
Libico has had a real history, we know that. There are still environmental issues there.
That is on the property across the street. We did not purchase the chemical site.
Again, what is the incentives to get somebody to come here and, since we owned it?
Right, so the incentives would be the same for this, since we are targeting agriculture-based companies. We would work closely with the Department of Ag on any incentives that they would be able to provide. We have had some construction companies that are existing here in Beaufort interested in laydown yard space, so we could potentially work with them to have laydown yard space until we land a company. That way we're generating some rental income on the property, which again would go back to the Job and Site Fund for Beaufort County.
Mr. Romeo?
I have a question.
Oh, Allison, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Howard.
Oh, I have a couple of questions. The Libico site, I know that y'all had made a trip to a processing facility in southwest Georgia.
Yes.
Last year, and have you had any other visits to other similar or any other prospects of something similar to that to come to this site?
So we have not made any other visits to other facilities. There is a recirculated aquaculture system conference next week in St. Augustine that potentially one of us will go to. And that conference has a lot of the people, the companies that are already doing this. So it would be a great learning experience to be part of that. As far as the meat processing facility goes, we have continued conversations with the people who are here locally that are interested in it. But, financials, logistics on their end, and working together to make sure that we can do this here It just takes time. And that, at the end of the day, economic development doesn't happen overnight. Some of these relationships just, it does take time.
I had another question about, and John O'Toole has explained it to me, but like the rest of David Bartholomew and I both, I travel sometimes up to, I go through Gardens Corner often for different reasons, for LOCOG meetings or going to other meetings up in Hampton, Athens. I never see any cars. The name of that company, it was a huge ribbon cutting, great occasion. I know the couple who own it live in Beaufort, but what's the status of that? I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the company. Gerald may remember because it's in his district, but could you give us an update on that one?
Yes, that company is TL & Co. And the owners are Tim DiDonato. Sorry. We have a meeting with them, I think it's on May 22nd, to follow up with them on the status of their products. I know they were waiting for some racking that was on delay for their project, but we have a meeting with them on May 22nd.
How many employees do they have? Just the two of them at this time?
We'll get an update. They were intending to hire 35 people.
And they came from Utah, correct? If I remember right?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Going back to the Labico site, I just want the public to realize there is no contamination on the part that we bought. And there's been a lot of rumors about, we bought a property that was contaminated, but that is not true, correct?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Bartholomew?
Yeah, so how many parcels does BCEDC own? What's the total acreage? And then what's the cost to maintain those while they're waiting development or pending status?
So the two parcels that we own are the 14.77 acres at Parker Drive and then 117 acres at Labico.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Is there anything underneath the county's umbrella that's earmarked for BCEDC that we're also holding on to? Or
Not that I'm aware of.
And how much does it cost to maintain those?
Taxes, Beaufort County taxes.
Do you know the cost to maintain it? while it's vacant?
The taxes on the Labico property were just over $2,000, and we have not received the tax bill for the Parker Drive.
I heard you say one of them's earmarked for industrial for zoning. Is there agricultural exemptions on them, or how's that 2,000 for 117 acres?
I'm not sure of the answer on that.
Have we thought about any type of timbering or anything like that to turn a profit on it?
We have not discussed that yet, but that's a good idea.
Anyone else? Ms. Brown?
You say there's no contamination on that property at Labico. Was there an environmental study done?
Yes.
And where is it? Where can we find it?
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Send it to me? Okay.
By the way, I've read that. So
Oh, you have?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay, so you had a study done
Yes.
and there was no contamination on the property?
There is no contamination. They are doing a phase 2, so like a volunteer cleanup contract just to ensure that there's no contamination. But there is no contamination from the first report.
Okay, so we have the Trask brothers here, or cousins, I don't know. The Trask have owned property, obviously, we have roads named after them for decades. They're both saying back there that that's not true. So can we get a copy of that environmental study?
Yes,
I
of
know,
course.
Alice, you've read it, but I'd like to see it as
Yes.
well.
I'm happy to share that.
And send it to me this afternoon, great, if you have time. Okay, thank you, Kevin.
I would like to request everyone to get it on county council.
Okay,
Yes, that'd
all
be
right.
great.
All
Yes,
right,
ma'am.
all
I
right,
can do that.
thank you.
Yes.
Sorry to follow up on that and belabor this issue, but There's an article out there that we did buy a property that had contamination on there, and that there were some remedial efforts that I believe we voted on to remediate part of the property. And then there's the EPA has a Superfund notification, I believe, about that site, the Libico site. I know we've talked about it. Sorry, it's not fresh in my mind. It's not my district, but that's the chemical side. I know there's no chemical plant.
If you look at the map up on the screen, you'll see a tan patch there to the right of the parcel that's outlined there. Right there. Mitchell Brothers has offices there. Back behind the cursor, to the right of the cursor, that's my left. That's my right. I'm trying to teach my grandson left and right. I hope I got it right.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of contamination there. One thing we are seeing on the other side is that there may have been dump sites there. There may be some contamination that might be leaching into this site from the larger site, and that's why we've done the phase 1. We'll do the phase 2. We'll probably have the Department of Commerce partner with us, because this is South Carolina's delivery system of having sites. So the value that we'll have there is having a great deal of due diligence. And I might say that the value here, like, people look at it and say, oh, that 117 acres, you've had it, we bought that in July, why hasn't it sold? There's a lot of wrinkles to the property. It's not served by sewer. There is water in the area that the council's extended in the area. So we have to pick an industry that doesn't really require the wastewater system, sewer system up there, that might be in violation of the plans, the land plans for the region. One thing we're looking at, we had lunch with the gentleman at the Department of Agriculture as recently as last Friday. We'll look to partner with them on pre-permitting these facilities to make them more attractive to the investment community. So we'll probably have a partner with the Department of Ag, and we'll be back before this council as those plans materialize, and we may use some request to use some of the site and job funds for that. So it is a complicated property. It's even more complicated by Libico. I did get a call last night at 7 p.m. from the owners of the chemical plant, but I was busy watching your council meeting.
Yeah, till 10 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Glover, go ahead.
Mr. O'Toole, you can stay right there. Let me just tell you that I appreciate all the things you're doing with the economic development. I know you're being criticized a lot, but I appreciate how you've come in and you have taken a program that was existing before you got here, that got destroyed, and you have lifted up and you're trying to move forward with it. One of the problems you have shared with me over the years is that Beaufort has very little products to offer. And so the purchasing of property and stuff allows you to at least look at developing that product for Beaufort, for businesses to come in through spec buildings or whatever. One of the things that you shared with me is that businesses want to have, don't want to wait to put up a structure, and you have asked this council to support you in that endeavor to provide spec buildings, and it's a slow process, but one of the problems the council faced at the time was that they did not want to invest in spec buildings that just sat there. So you come in here and ask us for 1 building, 2 buildings, and 3 buildings, and we have put those together. But one of the things that you did not share with this body here is that we do not have much products available to offer. And that's where you have come in and try to get property that you can start developing. And so I commend you for that. The Beaufort Commerce Park right now was, I believe and I think Gerald and Alice can help me with this, was actually owned by Beaufort County. But we lost it, didn't it?
It was owned by corporations that were largely funded by the county. The way we own land today, if such a thing happened, first of all, because of that history, when we buy land, we pay cash. We don't do it on notes, because as you know, we were looking at a property up in Yamasee, and we were really concerned about the ongoing funding of the Site and Job Fund, and so it's not our inclination to take on any debt that we can't repay.
I appreciate that, and so, before you make comments, I want to make kudos to Brian, because Brian and his retention has helped one of our farmers on St. Helena basically protect his product, and it's because of his constant visit, and I'm hoping that one of those 99 visit was actually that farmer that year, basically said, hey, we have a problem here, and because he kept that relationship, he was able to get with the county administrator and our staff, and we corrected the problem for his farm and stuff. And so I want to commend you and your staff for what you have done, and if you want to comment about products, the availability of products, how limited we have products available for the public for investment.
Well, I'll correct one thing. On the farmer, Brian did follow up with the farmer, and we were able to get him a good answer. Not necessarily the answer they wanted, but an answer. And so I think that is a big part of customer service. So when you look at all the taxpayers that you rely on for revenue, I do hope that you believe that our staff, and largely Brian making those BR&E visits, is showing some respect for their revenue, the jobs that they create in our community, and identifying problems. I grabbed my notes because Tab, I wanted to get your email, but it's interesting because I had an opportunity to talk to a good friend of mine who does economic development in Fayetteville, and we've been going back and forth, and hopefully we'll have conversation today, Fayetteville, North Carolina. But we'll be talking about how to approach economic development, and there is a model, a South Carolina model, where we have spec buildings, the pad that you approved funding 50% of. In December, we already have a New York company that's looking to build on that site, and South Carolina Department of Commerce is incentivizing them to do that. So that kind of conversation matters, but one of the questions Tab had asked, and I hope you don't mind if I give you attribution. I think they're all good questions. That if you didn't have a commerce park, if you didn't have the Myrtle Business Park, if you didn't have the Buckwalter Commerce Park, what would economic development look like? If we didn't have the Libico site, if we didn't have the site behind Geismar, what would economic development look like? Economic development might look like filling a 10,000 square foot building that just came on the market on Hilton Head, and getting industry to fill in. It might be redevelopment of sites. I have shared this with council, that job growth in the last 5 years in Beaufort County is the third highest in the state, behind Horry County and then Charleston County. So you're going to continue to see investment here. Our collective challenge, and we'll take our cue from you today, our collective challenge is to figure out how to balance all the different pressures. And I know you folks here in the room and online wrestle with that day in, day out. But and I watched the Willow, I'll call it the Willow Run Track discussion you had in this room last night. We do a lot. We're doing a lot to make sure we keep the county, as beautiful as it is, and we're good stewards of the land, which is great. But we also have to think in the future, and I even think some of the folks who commented during public comment are concerned about it too. Are we really creating an ability for people to make a living and provide for their families in this region? We'll have SEA here, really the region, but the county. How do we create economic opportunity while preserving the things that visually and breathing air that we love about the area? So that's so we can do that even without the spec buildings. We could do that without the commerce parks, but to fit into the context of South Carolina economic development. And I'll give you one anecdote. And my staff told me to give short answers, and I'm not doing that right now. But we have a gentleman who's building his forever house in Bull Point. He's got, is that Bull Point? I got it right? Yeah. And so he's got a factory up near Florence, and he's got another one in Detroit. He works in the automotive industry. He wants a building that's 50,000 square feet with ceiling heights of X. And if we can't accommodate him here, our next step is to give it to SCA and then to the broader South Carolina economic development community. But he'd like to be here in Beaufort. He wants a short ride to his factory, and that tends to be the kind of folks we talk to. So I do think it would be a great idea to have those kind of businesses here, and the exiting military can benefit from those jobs as well. So I'm sorry if that's a little long-winded, but to answer, and Tab, I ascribed all of your questions like letters, but I hopefully by the end of it we'll answer them all. But there is a way, with limited land, there is a way to do it, but it would be infill, and I do think, as we look back and say we've worked on 88 projects over 8.5 years, and even on some of the ones that are coming forward, we've met with neighborhoods on Hilton Head about an airport project well in advance to kind of mitigate any opposition. So we want to be in step with this council and the community. Sorry.
Question?
You just said this guy wants to build here in Beaufort County. Right on the screen, we're looking at an industrial site. Seems logical that you would be talking to him about that site, right?
We actually met with him in the Beaufort Commerce Park and showed him the Glassworks building. This one is still having the due diligence done on the land, so it's not ready right now.
All right, Mr.
And it won't have sewer, and he'll probably have a larger plant, so that could be a problem as well.
Mr. Reitz, go ahead.
Vice Chair, thank you. I think it'd be a great benefit for all of us here if Brian would talk about that farmers issue that he spent so many visits to, as to what the problem was and how it advanced economic development with us. I'd like to, maybe I should have known that or read that up front, but if you can address that, I'd love it.
I don't want to quash Brian's time on the stage, but it's very nuanced in terms of the gate. So Brian, if you're able, come up to bat.
So the farmer in question is on St. Helena. It's a branch of Coosaw Farms. When I met with them, they had raised an issue with a ditch that needed a tidal gate due to saltwater infiltration. They lost 30 acres of blueberries that year, to where they requested that we find out from county exactly what could be put in place to remedy that. We did get with the administrator and his staff, and the answer, as John said, it wasn't the answer they were looking for, but it was an answer nonetheless that it was not actually a Beaufort County issue. So if a gate would be put in there, it would have to be for them to put in, and also to be with the regulations that would have to be from DES and all of that, all of those agencies. So they are moving forward with finding out the pathway forward for that. But essentially where we stepped in was to get that answer to them, because otherwise they were just kind of spinning their wheels trying to figure out what the next step would be. And as that goes, I mean, they have replanted the blueberries, but if they were to have that kind of saltwater infiltration again, and it would get into one of their watering ditch systems, or even worse, one of their wells, they were looking at a possible impact of about $2 million. So we, again, got them on the right path moving forward, and we continue to support them.
Brian, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Brown?
I have some questions for John, if I may. You said the Libico property's not ready yet? You're doing due diligence, but didn't we already buy it? I'm confused.
Yes, yeah, we're doing a deep dive into it. We haven't even executed a voluntary cleanup contract on it yet, so we're in the midst
Oh,
of
so we
doing
haven't paid anything for it?
We have paid it, we own it, and we're continuing to do, we have Davis and Floyd doing a comprehensive, conceptual plan of how a park or business locations could be laid out on it. So we're not looking to sell 117 acres to one user. It would probably be a business park. At this point, where we have a local concern interested in doing a meat processing plant there, and we have
Okay, we don't have to go into all the
international
details.
interest in a fishery.
Okay, so, okay. We bought the property. It sounds like we put the cart before the horse here. We bought the property, but we're still doing due diligence? You're supposed to do due diligence first to see if it's viable to buy, and then you buy it, and then you have somebody to come in and sit on it. That's economic development to me, and I've been doing this since 1978.
There are different levels of due diligence, and
But did we do some due diligence before we bought it? Oh, we did. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
But I have another question about the other company that Kelly was talking about. CS Instruments. Where is that located in Bluffton? I don't remember. I remember
Pinellas Drive,
Pinellas. Where is that?
right behind Zips Car Wash, the new bagel place that's going in, and Parker's gas station.
Oh, Buckwalk. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, yeah, I guess there are a few Zips.
Okay, so how was this? Please explain to council how this company was brought in. Did you go out and find them?
Kelly was our project manager. on
Okay,
that
all right.
13.
Thank you.
So CS Instruments, the company that you're referencing, before my time at BCEDC, Charlie Stone, the project manager at the time, he met with CS Instruments, and I believe Southern Carolina was at that meeting as well. So upon Charlie's departure from the organization, I was copied on an email, as well as Kay Maxwell from Southern Carolina and Taylor Boykin, who was also at Southern Carolina at the time. The email was forwarded to me because I was receiving Charlie's emails. So upon that time, we set up a meeting. So Southern Carolina, myself, were at that meeting, and I think it was in June of 2024.
Okay, no, I'm just saying. So SCA brought it in and then gave it to you?
We were all copied on the email together.
And
so
do
we
you know
had
how they were brought in? Or were they
So
through the-
I don't know the origination,
I'm just curious.
but they were at a facility in
'Cause
Jasper.
this is a good company. This is what we're looking for.
Yeah, it's a great company. So they were located in Jasper County. So we made sure. Well, they had temporary office space there, and so they were looking to be in Bluffton. The gentleman lives in Lawton Station and wanted to be able to drive his golf cart to work.
Really?
So at that meeting, we determined that Bluffton was a great option for him. I believe he also looked at properties in Jasper County as well, Kay?
Yeah, it was a lead we brought in for our Legion. Okay.
Would you like to come to the microphone?
You want to come up and tell us? I just wanted to show council this is what economic development looks like. You know, somebody moves here, they want to bring their company here.
Right.
I work for CareCorps National, which
Yes.
turned to Evicor, which now is Cigna, blah, blah, blah. But that's what it looks like. A gentleman and his wife came down here, had a home in Sea Pines. He really loved it here. He moved his company here. And that's what economic development is. And then the county or the state gives them incentives. How are you going to bring your company here and you're going to create 100 jobs at $50,000? This is back in the 2000s. So, yeah. So, okay. Well, thank you.
So it was great. And so after that first initial meeting, the CEO Wolfgang Blessing was in town later that year. So Martin reached out back to me and John and I met with the two of them at 9 o'clock that morning at their facility, and they said they wanted to be in Bluffton, and but they were available for lunch, and I said, let me make a phone call. And at noon that day, we had Chris Forster with the company to discuss their ability to be in Bluffton. So those quick reactions and having the relationships with each of our municipalities is how we do business.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Carol.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
You can sit down. I just want to give a little bit of history of economic development in Beaufort County and the Commerce Park. From 2012 to around about 2015, the council at that time, we struggled with trying to diversify our economy by actually getting started with economic development in Beaufort County. And at that time, the council set up with the Economic Development Corporation. And then later on, we brought John on as the director of the EDC. Council at that time, during that time frame from 2012 to 2015, we had the opportunity to purchase the Commerce Park. And the council didn't follow through on it. We didn't see the need, or some didn't see the need to actually the government owning the Commerce Park. And so when we didn't buy it, then the city of Beaufort did buy it. And so the city of Beaufort actually, with our help, county council and John, actually developed the Commerce Park to what it is today. So all of that stuff that's in the Commerce Park, which actually to John's contribution. There was literally nothing in the Commerce Park when the city of Beaufort, when the county council had the opportunity to purchase and start economic development, and the city of Beaufort bought it and actually started actually putting different businesses in the Commerce Park. So we had the opportunity to purchase it. We didn't. The city of Beaufort purchased it, and so now everything that you see that's in the Commerce Park is John actually had a hand in developing the Commerce Park. So I just share that with us so we have some history of where we are today as far as economic development is concerned. We took the initiative to try to diversify the economy so that the Beaufort County would not have to rely upon just tourism and property tax for our economy. Bringing in economic development gave us what we call the third leg to the stool as far as diversifying the economy. And so we're at the point today where, in my opinion, John has done a great job of actually bringing jobs into the county. And so I just thank you and your staff for all the work that you have done, and I hope you continue to do what you're doing.
Mr. Cunningham, would you like to ask a question or add anything?
No, I don't have any questions or anything, but I would like to say that I do have a problem when the government gets involved with.
Problem with what? We can't hear you. Problem with what? Okay.
Yeah, a little louder.
Yeah. Problem with what?
I don't have any comments or questions. I guess the only thing I would say is somebody touched on Evicor. Evicor abandoned that building in Bluffton. It's actually empty right now. It has been for years.
Right.
Just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, Mr. McEllen, anything from you?
No.
Yeah, sorry, I had my audio off. I've stepped away for a couple of phone calls that were incoming, so I don't know if this question has been asked, but does John have any idea, or does he have any figures to show the revenue stream that's been coming into the county as a result of the economic development that has occurred here over the past, say, 6 or 8 years.
Yes, every time we speak publicly to this council, to any community group, we always put our scorecard up there, and I can do that.
Have you done that already today? I stepped away.
No, I think that's the next slide.
Perfect timing, I guess, huh?
Alex inspired me this morning to get right with the clicker. We always show the scorecard, and usually the one that we keep looks like this, but let me just deal with it at a high level. Did I leave tabs? No, I have your email here. And it came up in the public comments, so we do want to comment on that as well. But we show the total investment, and if you put that number in your calculator on your website, we'll discount it by like 15%, just to keep it honest. The capital investment, as we inch up on $1 billion worth of capital investment, the income to the county should be over $13 million a year. So if you look at, and you'll hear it, hopefully some of you will be able to attend the ribbon cutting for Master Corp in the Commerce Park next, it will be May 21st. Hopefully you'll be able to attend that. You'll see that we're not only a customer service arm to businesses that are here, but also provide, as Kelly mentioned, that concierge level service. But if you extrapolate, let's just say $900 million worth of capital invested at a 6% rate, you'd be in excess of $13 million a year.
Over what period of time is that $13 million coming in annually?
That comes in annually. The investments were made incrementally over the 8 years that led us to today.
Okay, so it wasn't $13 million a year for the 8 years. We've eventually arrived at that number for revenue to the county of $13 million. Going
Correct.
forward, that should be the number.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And then incentives, and this is where I think sometimes the public gets misled, the Glassworks being a great example. We show the math on the incentive package that's delivered by Commerce to the companies. Most of those are, as Kelly had mentioned, are delivered through the Department of Commerce to the company. Could be tax credits, could be withholding tax credits, could be abatements for manufacturing machinery and so on, and then 338 jobs. And when you look at our scorecard, and this is one we work off of, our goal this year is just over 72 million, trying to create 250 jobs or work with companies on that. Hard thing to predict, but the point being that economic development should be measured. It shouldn't be just activities. And I think that should answer some of the questions you had as well. If you like, I could go through the slides that we had on the strategic, or did you have more questions?
Well, I want to go back to what Mr. Glover said.
Yeah.
One of my questions was, is there really adequate land in the county to push for economic development with, quote, high-paying jobs, not $30,000? And is it a good return on investment from this council that funds your job and site fund and funds your operating expenses? The 3 municipalities, because Port Royal pulled out, the 3 give 126,000, give or take. The bulk of the expenses are from the county. So my question is, can we really get a good return on investment?
Well, each project we bring to Site and Job Fund, and the purchases that we discussed today, all have to be approved by this council. So every time an expenditure comes up, that should be the threshold that we have to answer if you're going to fund it. So to me, I would say yes. To give you an idea, this council, when we first started, we were at about 500,000 a year in site and job fund, and those funds all reside with the county. They don't reside with us. And then with the guide we put in place last summer, we have instructions on what to bring back to council before we approve at our board level. Or we can approve it, but before expending it, we'd have to bring it to this council. In terms of the jobs, I just put the screen up there. So if you look at it, the last question answered by Councilman McClellan, and now you look at the jobs that are being created, the wage rates have been going up on the jobs we work, and we're trying to attract quality jobs. It's kind of difficult to find employees if you're not offering quality jobs in Beaufort County.
So until the county put in those guidelines or guardrails, whatever you want to call it, for the Job and Site Fund, but before that, my experience on the board was the board just approved everything. So now you have these guidelines that they have to follow that come to council.
I will take a little exception to that. I don't think guardrails or like there was wildness going on. I think that we've had a conversation, and hopefully we'll have a conversation today of what you expect from us, and we'll meet your expectations. I don't think anything that was brought to the board was approved. Being a 501c3 and a little entrepreneurial, and Councilman Cunningham brought up his philosophical beliefs. If we're pushing up against something, council certainly within its rights. When we did the first building over at Myrtle Park, Councilman Lawson pushed back on that, and we felt required to live up to his expectations. It's a wonderful development today. So the dialogue back and forth doesn't mean that we're at odds with each other, but I do think we can improve our product by having meetings like we're having today.
The one I go back to when I first started on the board was the nurse retention program, where literally we gave nurses $3,000. We didn't know if they were really going to leave the county. We don't know how they spent it. We don't know if it retained them. And then consequently, going forward, we didn't fund it. So those are the things, and I think one of our speakers talked about, are we really, there's another company in there, I won't mention it, but are we really following through to make sure these companies are providing us a return on our investment?
Well, first of all, last year, and Kelly mentioned it, all of our agreements have clawbacks in them. Last year, we clawed back without any litigation $47,000 for companies that didn't meet our expectations. So we have very good agreements in place to get the taxpayer dollars back. You and I have discussed this in this forum and elsewhere. On the nursing retention program, it was probably a misunderstanding. It was not meant to be a slight to council. It was a misunderstanding that you didn't have the funds. I didn't know you or the council was opposed to the program. But fast forward to our Converge this past year, we have Henry McMaster's workforce czar come down and say that she's holding out, Rebecca Battle Bryant is holding out the nurse retention program as one of the best practices for retention of employees. And we'll get into it, and I believe Kelly did as well, but we have some slides in our deck today that show the things that economic development and communities, let's not even use economic development, but communities. If we have $500 million worth of healthcare investments within a stone's throw of where our office is, we're going to need employees. And if you workforce is the gasoline that fires the economy, people need workers. And so the nursing one, we'll wait to see. And just so you know, we approved $48,000. I think to date, we've only paid out $15,000 of it. And I'd love to show you the demonstration of performance that we get from that organization. But they are nurses staying in our area. In Savannah, just as an example, they'll incentivize, and there are many different examples around the country, but Savannah's a close one, where they'll pay months of a tech worker's rent or mortgage for them to relocate to their community. Folks are realizing, there was a great book called The New Geography of Jobs, but it was how workforce was going to really dictate where industries meet or industries decide to invest. And we have a representative from USCB here, but there was this notion of creating a cyber security sector in Beaufort County. And without the great efforts of USCB, Technical College of the Low Country, and even our K through 12 program to create education, and I think this gets to one of your bullets as well. Without that connection, it's almost like having an engine without a fuel line. Those workers are the fuel line, and so we'll wait to see how, what the outcome is on the nursing program as we get further into it. But again, back to the point, we'll have a conversation. We'll figure out if we're in step with each other or what we have to modify. I can tell you this, that Kelly, Brian, and myself want to be really good at this, and I'm sorry that some people are upset, but we really want to be good at this because we think it makes a difference in your neighbor and our neighbors' lives. So we wake up and work really hard at economic development. And hopefully some of you would get out to visit with some of the companies. When you see a slide there from L3 Harris, the 5th largest defense contractor in the world, talking about why they're not in Pittsburgh and why they're not in Melbourne, Florida. They stayed on Hilton Head, and they're referencing the assistance they've gotten from the county, from this organization, and from the town.
Hey, John, I was cut off before I had a chance to ask my second question.
Go ahead, Larry.
Sorry.
And that was, in a perfect world, and I don't know what the sequence of this meeting is or how long you all intend to be there, but in a perfect world, what would you need to have happen for you to be more successful than you are? What would have to fall into place for you, or what could you recommend we be thinking about doing that would give you the ability to have a report next year that is better than the one that you've been making this year, which is not to say this one isn't good, but in a perfect world, what would you need? What would you like to see happen?
In a perfect world, that's a big question. Well,
I know.
I would, we've got a big election coming up, so I would say that that this organization and the Beaufort County Council believe that we have as we go through the strategic planning process, are on the same page. Largely, not everyone's going to agree on everything, but that we are in agreement on how to approach economic development in a way that's responsive to the people who pay for economic development and the benefit that it could have for the community. So, and then with that, hopefully the Commerce Park and some of the infill locations and all of the communities would have projects moving forward in them, and we would be thinking, as we are with the Green Penny, where else could economic development occur, or what should we be focused on, and having a really good conversation together.
I was thinking more who can be of some assistance to you in getting the word out on what we're trying to accomplish here, that's all.
Well, we have partners with SCA, so as part of that, we would hopefully be able to continue to count on them to get our word out in the broader investment area, but that we're doing the things locally to support growth. And I'll add this, that we stay committed to the business retention and expansion, because better than 80% of your jobs and investment will come from people who are already in Beaufort County.
Okay, thanks, John.
Mr. Passman.
We've spent an hour and a half now. Let's get to the heart of the matter, which is the next session, so we can really make some decisions about.
I just have one comment to make regarding what Logan said. Logan, those two buildings over on Buckwalter, Cigna came in and bought the company, and then in March 2020, COVID hit, and they sent everybody home. All the employees that sat in those two buildings are still working from their homes. May River Plantation, Lawton Station, they're all over Beaufort County. So those two buildings, the people that worked in those buildings are still working here in Beaufort County. In addition to that, I think Novant is going in one of those buildings, am I correct?
Yes.
And the other building, I heard a law firm's going in, I don't know. But so we're getting double whammy on those buildings.
Which
Because-
proves you can have economic development without having to build buildings. There are other ways.
Well,
to
yeah,
do it.
I know, but what I'm saying is, they may be empty, but the people are still working for the company that were in there. That's all. Anyway, I agree with Joe, let's just get on and.
Well, I think we're going to take a 5-minute break or 10.
Okay.
And then we'll come back.
And we'll start with organizational
Pause for a few
models.
minutes.
Okay.
part. This is BCEDC Strategic Plan Overview and Discussion.
Okay,
All
so
right.
we went over the scorecard, and I did, people have alluded to it, you know, as we look at the end of the year, we do adjust it for significant impacts up or down. And so we don't spend a lot of time talking about it in public, but there are companies like Blue Sky Processing, RLB, RX Industries, Glassworks that go out. And so at the end of the year, we modify our results to reflect companies that go out. As just talking to Danny Black earlier today, they had a company that's going to downsize. And as economic developers, those hurt. I mean, I know it happened in one of the other communities, but as economic developers, you know that hurts families. And so, again, getting back to Brian, when those things happen, we're trying to get employees from RX Industries on Hilton Head, which closed, placed at TS Conductors over in Jasper County, trying to make sure these people find work. So economic development, as I mentioned last time I presented, happens on the way up and the way down, and there are business cycles. We do focus. I'm going to go through this quickly because I want to make sure we can answer questions. Most of you have had the strategic plan for a while. We sent it out fairly several weeks ago, I believe, and so you've had it. I do want to touch on things that Mike Moore asked us to touch on, but to look at what a county-run economic development model, you heard that in public comment, publicly accountable, stable public funding, clear authority over use of public resources, and direct integration with public planning. The model that we're in, which is the public-private partnership or nonprofit, competitive, flexible, and we can be fast, collaborative. We can accept philanthropic and private sector donations, and we, by our nature, have stakeholder engagement. And we have the agility to program, and then we have a commitment. Everyone on this staff is that we have a learning and development budget, and they're working towards their certification as an economic developer by IEDC, and also with the South Carolina Economic Development Association. To give you an idea, and I'm sure in your travels you've met folks from other counties, so this will give you a pretty good idea of counties that are doing it as an economic development model, and then counties that are doing it as a private sector, and as you know, we're on that list. And then some have a hybrid where they are county departments like Dorchester, but they also have a 501c3 that can accept contributions and raise funds. This, I think, gets out a lot of the questions that were raised in advance. But a lot of people focus on the right side here, which are the goods and services being sold and manufactured, and the outcomes, job, taxes, and income. But there is this whole ecosystem, and we do interface, like in economic development, with the entrepreneurial groups in the county, the educational groups, community development and infill, and financing banks and nonprofit financing of work organizations as well. So we do a lot on the left side when we're not doing deals. And don't fail me now. Okay, and so we've been over this earlier. There are a lot of competing interest in Beaufort County for land. We had a strategic planning work session on March 5th. We had 35 folks from around the region. SCA was with us, council members were with us, folks from each of the towns and cities were with us. So we had a good session. We looked at our focus areas, and these are the areas, sectors we're working in, and the areas of our work plan are listed there as well. In the following slides, we go into greater detail, and we do have metrics. It was brought up, like, how do you measure success? I believe it should be a number, not a feeling, and so that's why we always lead with that scorecard you saw earlier. We have an aerospace company in the landing pad right now out of California that's starting to do more. They're actually in both the Bluffton and the Beaufort landing pads. Moving along, hospitality, supply chain for hospitality will be one of our focus areas, and groups at our strategic session worked on it. Life sciences, as I look up, Joe, I think your group took a look at that, and we have some really good ideas in the longhand strategic plan to try to cultivate that the sector. Healthcare, light manufacturing. Again, what we see there are the shovel-ready sites are oftentimes what people are looking for. There is a lot of real estate in competing areas outside of where our folks can drive to work, headquarters and back office. And then our work areas, business recruitment, and again, we work with Southern Carolina Alliance on that, and the Department of Commerce. Business retention and expansion, we do a lot of that. Haven't met with Charleston. I believe Brian's goals are even steeper than what the folks in Charleston have, so we're always stepping up Brian's ask there in terms of meeting with companies and having his ear to the ground. Entrepreneurship, we collaborate in this space. We have great partners at the Don Ryan Center for Innovation and the Beaufort Digital Corridor. Workforce development, if you attended Converge and understand what the state is doing with the Department of Employment and Workforce. We met last week with Tony Pollan with the Low Country Council of Governments, and he's working with Brian to get some relocated employees and new employers credits, cash credits for hiring these people. Is that up to 6,000 per employee?
6,000 during the training period.
Yeah.
One of the programs.
Okay. I just throw numbers around. Brian has the details, but up to $6,000 per employee during their training period is accurate. Okay, infrastructure, and in this case, and this was a question asked, sometimes it's working with the utilities. By the way, it should have been mentioned when we bought the Libico site for $1.5 million, $150,000 of it came from our board member, Blakely Williams company. Dominion provided us $150,000 of UTCs to defray that cost, so we're appreciative of that. And then even when you'll be coming out, I believe, with the transportation question, we want to make sure people are informed of that and supportive of it. As we drove over here, anyone drive on 170 today, you can see the challenges that people who work in Beaufort County have. I drive off Hilton Head every day, and I see the challenges, and we have to care about what our neighbors are going through to get to where they need to get to provide for their families. So we work in that space, and funding and sustainability. I will rattle through this quickly, but we have just in the year we're in, so you'll look at the money that you are paying us, and I can provide you detail on that. That was provided in advance of our strategic plan. But in the year we're in right now, over $280,000 received to augment the work that you've asked us to do. As we look forward, what success looks like, we are doing well in our targeted industries. We have emphasis on projects and that emphasize our workforce strength. And again, getting back to the learning institutions, making sure we're coordinated with the talent they're putting out. Greater support for small projects, that's really a target that we have with the Department of Commerce, because they like Scout projects and BMW projects and Boeing projects, and our fit is really smaller projects. So we do quite well there, but trying to make sure that their incentives work with what we're shooting for. Finished some signature projects, and we did get a letter of intent in on Project Cloud and continuing to work on Libico. When we think about BR&E, retaining companies, and then trying to keep dollars in this economy versus leaking out of this economy, our local economy. Community partnerships, more collaboration, increased partnership with SCA, and really making sure we're aligned with you and the towns and their councils. And then administratively, some numeric goals and some learning and development goals, making sure our staff is certified, and they are well on their way to doing that. Having the organization, the BCEDC accredited by IEDC would be maybe a measurable result in terms of the professionalism we bring to this work. And then grants in support of the mission over the next 5 years, trying to secure another $2 million to augment the money that the county's paying, and seeing our private sector contributions grow to just under 100,000 would be our target. And as we look at just the numbers that we had on our scorecard and translating them to tax revenue on your model, it looks like we're generating, with the projects we've worked on, over $13 million, $13.5 million. And no more breaks. I wanted to get through that quickly. I'm sorry if the first section took time, but I don't want to steal time from Southern Carolina Alliance, but we're here to answer any questions you have on the strategic plan and our strategic direction.
Yes, Mr. President.
I have two questions. One, you mentioned the grants. What's the criteria for the board to issue the grants into the community? We've heard a lot. I know I've had a lot of emails come in and phone calls about the grant allocation. How does the board decide who gets the grant and what criteria is out there for it?
Well, I think, David, I think some of the confusion on grants is that, people look at the $32 million in incentives and site development grants. So
I'm talking specifically grants that were issued by the board.
Mm-hmm. And so they are figured out largely by the jobs and the investment the company's putting in. And I'd invite you to look at one of our clawback agreements and how we do the math, so if they don't meet what we expect, we can claw that money back. Just to give you an idea, though, in the last 5 years, we've issued $1.1 million in grants in the last 5 years. So, so staff looks at it. We put together a pro forma, the rationale for the grant, then we bring that to our board, and it's voted for at our board.
And last question, and once again, I hate to belabor this, but I feel inclined to go back to the 117-acre property. I believe y'all said that there was no contamination. I found the minutes from January 23, 2025, and it specifically says, and I want to make sure it's the right property, but it says the rationale for the purchase includes environmental justice and socioeconomic aspects by way of cleanup of the contaminated property and further preservation by looking for low-impact reuse options for the property. My question is, are we as a county going to be on the hook for that cleanup, and is that the same property that's referenced in the presentation you gave to the BCEDC board?
And I corrected that answer to say that there is infiltration, and there might be a small dump site where some barrels were taken. We have environmental assays on what exists out there, so we can provide you that detail. The reason you exercise the voluntary cleanup contract is so that you would not be required, you would not be taking the responsible parties off the hook. The people who polluted are the responsible parties for the cost of the cleanup.
Yes?
Question here?
Yes, Mr. Reeds, go ahead.
I actually have two, just to follow up on David's question. Purchasing this property, there was no known chemical infiltration of any kind, correct?
That's incorrect. We did we had environmental reports. We've done environmental reports subsequent, and there is some trace pollution on the site.
Oh, so, okay, so in other words, you knew it going in, and it's set up that whoever is responsible for it, they're going to take care, the county's not going to be on the hook, like David said, correct?
Correct. The one piece that we have is as you know, you can proceed litigation, and that can be slow and it can be expensive. Being that we're a 501c3, in October, when we finish the level of due diligence we're doing right now, we'll probably access EPA funds to address that.
Cool. Hey, fair enough. Second question, page 28. You have a graph, and I'm catching up here just a little bit. 2025, it shows 1239 jobs. Could you give an idea where they're centered and from whatever to whatever, where those jobs are located?
Which page are you on? 24?
28.
28.
The one that was sent to us.
Are you referencing some wages slide?
Yeah, the graph.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Kelly, thank you. Yeah, the graph, the 1239.
Most of those that year were located on Buckwalter in the town of Bluffton.
And they're still there, those jobs?
No, they're being developed right now. The buildings
they're being developed, okay.
The buildings are coming out of the ground.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. The jobs aren't created in the year the project's announced. Both Beaufort County and the state of South Carolina works off of a 5-year development plan by the project.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? All right, go ahead, Mr. O'Toole.
I'm done.
Oh, okay.
I appreciate your time. You still have the strategic plan. If you haven't read it, or if you want to read it again and just want to catch up with myself, Kelly, or Brian, we really would love your input and make sure that we're in step with what you're hoping for. I know some of the council members not in the room but on screen. I'd love to continue those conversations that you started today regarding the place of government and maybe ways that we can approach economic development that can still help the community, but not maybe within the bounds of what you think good government should be. Thank you.
So we're going to South Carolina.
Madam Chairman, before you go
ahead.
Let me just make a comment about the structure that we have right now with the Economic Development Board. I don't know whether it's appropriate at all because there are some board members in the audience, but the Economic Development Board of Directors is sort of a buffer between council individually and collectively looking at economic development for this entire county. I would tell you that I desire to have economic development in my community, but I'm in a rural area, and I don't expect the kind of development that may be in your area to come to my area, but I do also need to have economic development for my community as far as growth is concerned. And so individually, I may not like the Economic Development Board putting a lot of emphasis in Lobeco or any other site because I wanted to put it on my site. But I know that my growth in my community is going to be different from that of Bluffton, Hilton Head, and et cetera. And so I look to the Economic Development Board to look at the broader picture for Beaufort County and decide what's best for these various districts or these various areas. And they will all change, they will all be different, but it's to them I look to, and this model serves for me the purpose of why we need to continue to look at this particular model, because it takes me away out of the whole issue of economic development. I talk one-on-one with Mr. Tools for my district, but he also has other interests around the county, and so it's a good model, and it's not one where individual council members are directing them. He has to go to his board, and then that board also come to us to support that concept that they have looked at and deliberated on and brought forward to say, hey, this is a good project. So I just want to make that comment. That's all.
Anybody else? All right. Hey, Maxwell, come on down. South Carolina Alliance.
Hi there, good afternoon. I am Jason Semple. I'm Director of Business Development for Southern Carolina Alliance. Thank you for having us today. Of course, Kate Maxwell is our VP of Marketing. She's going to be sharing the presentation with me, and she'll be taking us to the finish line once I get us halfway through. We will, there we go. Get started there. And yeah. So thank you, Kay. And please stop me as we go along. I can get on a roll and just keep talking. So please just raise your hand or interject if you have questions here. A little bit about the structure of economic development in South Carolina. Sorry if some of this is redundant. I know Kelly covered a little bit of this as well. But as most of you are aware, regional economic development organizations, or REDOs as we call them, are part of the essential framework of economic development, which is both a national and international protocol to efficiently market local communities. Most states utilize regional alliances, as do many countries, including the UK and Germany and some other European countries, because it enables us to pool our resources. It's a very practical sort of approach to economic development. South Carolina, of course, our governor leads economic development through the Department of Commerce, and we work directly with the other 7 regional alliances, directly with the Department of Commerce on industrial recruitment and retention in partnership with our local communities. All counties in South Carolina are members of regional alliances, which are formed contiguously, of course. In other words, we're all touching each other. Beaufort was one of the last counties to join an alliance in South Carolina and was urged to do so since economies are not merely local, but operate regionally. In practically every economy in the country, thousands of residents cross county lines for jobs and to work in well-paying jobs and industries and to purchase and sell goods in neighboring communities. In short, a win for one county is a win for all of the region. These are the counties that we serve. In South Carolina, the state legislature also provides regional economic development organization funding through proviso funds, which standalone counties do not receive. This funding, combined with private investment, enables an organization like SCA to bring marketing resources to the table that the county would not be able to benefit from alone. When Beaufort County joined SCA, you became the 7th county in our regional alliance, which was established in 1996 as a 501c3. Like the other regional alliances in South Carolina, our focus is on marketing and industrial recruitment. One of the reasons that Beaufort County leadership decided to join SCA in 2017 was to help the county diversify its economy, a heavy lift that SCA has accomplished quite well in our other member communities. Through the ideals of cooperation and regionalism, it's just great jobs that will improve the quality of life in the counties of our region and how we accomplish our mission. Excuse me. Marketing industrial recruitment, as do the other regional alliances in their respective regions. We also offer additional services to our member counties according to each county's preference. In 5 of our member communities, SCA handles all product development and project management, enabling some of the most challenging counties in the state to successfully land projects. SCA also facilitates workforce and community development to help connect our local workforce to available jobs in the community while ensuring that our industries are able to find skilled workers. Our program of work is led by our board of directors and our CEO. SCA is governed by a board of directors comprised of both industry leaders and county council appointees. Each member county nominates 3 members to the SCA board, providing a wonderful public-private sector balance to the board of directors. And this is a list of our board of directors from practically every targeted industry sector in our region, leaders from each of the 7 counties, and education and healthcare leaders, providing a diverse perspective and seasoned approach to economic development. The board is led by a 15-member executive committee that meets in the months that the board does not meet. Each county has a county representative on the executive committee. Currently, the 3 Beaufort County appointed board members are Alice Howard and Paula Brown of the County Council and Joel Braun of Beaufort EDC. Alice Howard serves as Beaufort County's representative on our executive committee. Other Beaufort County members of our board include Senator Tom Davis, Grady Woods of Woods Dandy Architects, Trey Hunter of Palmetto Electric Cooperative, Carl Kilpatrick of Bank of the Low Country, Jimmy Baker of the Beaufort Jasper Water Sewer Authority, and Greg Brunson of Brunson Construction. Looking at our staff team, we operate with an experienced staff of 10 professionals with more than 85 years, which is actually 105 because I lied about my age on my application, but we have 85 years of combined experience in economic development, more than 100 combined years of expertise and success in marketing and brand development, and more than 70 years of combined experience in project management and product development. And Ryan Merritt, who's the newest member of our team, is also a civil engineer. Some of the diverse industry in our region, our county started the Alliance to diversify the economy, as we mentioned earlier, beyond textiles, the Department of Energy missions, and agriculture, which is something that we've done pretty well over the 30 years. Where we have built clusters in the transportation and automotive sector, aerospace and defense sector, advanced composites, and forest products, as well as our life sciences industry and sector highlights, which you can see there, some of the companies that we've been involved with through the years. International investment in the region, see some pretty good company representation there on foreign direct investment projects that we've been a part of, some of the origins of those places, and of course the sectors are very diverse in what they represent. So as a result, SCA's play a pivotal role in creating more than 14,000 jobs and more than $4.1 billion in private capital investment in the most rural region in the state. In fact, our success has snowballed over the years from the groundwork we laid in product development and marketing. More than $2.26 billion of that investment and nearly 7,200 of those jobs have been announced since the COVID pandemic began in 2020. Last year alone, SCA was directly involved in bringing over $500 million in private investment and 1,144 direct jobs, and 2026 is even more promising. Y'all didn't interrupt me. So, oh, finally a question.
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you here. Seeing the TL and Co up here, I know they're having a follow-up meeting, but how many of these jobs have actually led to people being hired?
So you're talking about the cumulative job count of the announcements?
Yeah, so I mean, I know these are the announced and proposed number of jobs, but how many of these have actually been filled?
So TS Conductor is just starting the hiring process. They're building now. Palmetto Plastics, same thing. Bamberg County, who is that? Black Horse. They have surpassed their job count. I think they are at 45, maybe. Hampton Lumber is still in the construction process. That project is due to be completed later this year, fingers crossed. All goes well. Of course, CS Instruments, I don't know where they are in their...
They've hired
two employees. Okay.
They don't have space, so they have to wait till their building.
That's right. So, TL Co, I joined in September, so I'll get Kay to give me a little perspective on that.
So basically, all the companies that made announcement of investment in our region, obviously, if you were to set up a donut shop tomorrow, you wouldn't start with 20 employees and be totally built out your first. In some cases, they're building new facilities, et cetera. With incentives from the state, they have
And so there is follow-up on that,
so
right?
the good news is we've got 1,144 jobs coming from just what was announced alone last year. The bad news is we've got jobs, some of which have already been filled, but some are still, will be coming. And as as those come up. So most of them, when they make those announcements, if they're already in place, they start hiring immediately. Some it takes a year or two, depending on whether they're building a facility or what their timeline is. But all that, when you're doing a project with the state of South Carolina or with SCA, all of that's put in writing as to how they're going to ramp up. South Carolina uses something called a project profile sheet. And that is kind of our little Bible that we use in offering incentives to a company. And on that project profile sheet, a company has to give, they have to fill out 4 different factors that are considered for incentives. The number of jobs they're going to create, the wages for those jobs. Those wages must be higher than the county average. The capital investment they're going to make, and that can include machinery and equipment. And then the 4th thing is where they locate. The more rural counties offer higher incentives because obviously they need to do so. So the state and counties look at those in determining what kind of incentives they're going to offer a company. And on that sheet, it is spread out over the 5 years. They put in how many they're going to, like how many CNC operators or production supervisors they're hiring the first year, the second year, the third year, and so forth. So all of that's in writing when the state and county come back with the incentives package. Okay, is that great?
Anyone else? Okay, continue, Kay.
Thank you. Well, Jason gave you a little bit of background. We were asked to give some background on how SCA works and what we do. And then we were also asked to address how we were going to support Beaufort County in the new strategic plan. So we're happy to talk about that. SCA has a great success record, and we do that through several things. Collaboration and partnership and assisting our communities with all those things that go into economic development. And discussing the strategic plan, how are we going to support it? Let's start with marketing first. And marketing, the strategic plan called for strengthening and evolving the core industries with the targeted sectors identified. We can and we will support Beaufort's strategic plan in that arena. At SCA, our 30 years of success have given us the opportunity to hone our marketing program somewhat and learn what really works to achieve results. So our program is focused on getting a meeting with a decision maker with an active project considering an expansion, startup, or relocation to the southeast within the next 2 to 5 years in our targeted industry sectors. So it's a very targeted approach. It's not a shotgun approach. Our regional program is comprised of several components, including our partnership with the State Department of Commerce and other regional alliances through something called the Palmetto Partnership. And that is where SCA puts in $45,000 a year with the other regional alliances and the State Department of Commerce, and that's where we do most of our international trade shows and conferences. But most of what we do is we work on the regionally led SCA marketing missions, and we do those both in person and via Zoom because we try to be good stewards of our funding. So we do about 40 of those per year, meeting face-to-face with companies in our targeted sectors. And we also work with our allies, such as the SC Power Team and utilities like Dominion Energy. And we connect with location site consultants and commercial real estate firms to help us ferret out those companies that are interested in our region. And we also use digital marketing through our website and the internet to reach prospects. One of the ways we're doing that right now is we did geofencing around the RBC Heritage, and we really drilled down on the demographics of who we wanted to reach at the RBC Heritage, who has the ability to create a project or relocate a business. And we targeted about 70,000, and we are following them through until we'll do about a 3 to 6 month follow through to drive people to our website to look at properties. And we have reporting on that every year. So through our regionally led program, we actually start the year each year through our professional lead gen programs. We reach out to about 10,000 companies at the start of the year. And those are in our targeted sectors. However, not all going to be interested in our region. And we hone that down till we end up meeting every year with about 150 to 200 companies. And again, I mentioned that we're focused on those targeted industry sectors. How do we find those? Well, those are the companies that succeed in our region and that provide well-paying jobs. And we look at evaluations of our regional and local assets and our workforce and determining what those are. Our targeted clusters have always included the major sectors identified to help Beaufort County diversify the economy, and we'll continue to incorporate those as identified in the new strategic plan, including aerospace and defense, life sciences, light and advanced manufacturing, headquarters, and agribusiness. And as always, we invite the Beaufort EDC staff to participate in key marketing missions and trade shows, giving them the opportunity to meet directly with some of the prospects in addition to the marketing we do throughout the year. So John and Brian, and we've certainly attempted with Kelly as well, we've been to some very glamorous places over the years in New Jersey and Connecticut and other places trying to find companies that are interested in South Carolina. In addition, we have a robust toolbox of marketing tools and programs that we not only conduct on a regional level, but we make available to the county teams, which can support the county's efforts, from marketing missions to economic development software tools, online libraries with the evaluations of our properties, digital marketing, and social media support. And here's just a list of some of those tools. Most of these services are provided at no charge to the county organizations. And we're always evaluating the most effective and innovative ways to market our region. And as the world has changed, we're doing more and more on social media. And we also have a podcast series down here on WHHI TV called Behind the Golden Shovel. And we do a lot of focusing on and highlighting the industries in the area because we believe these success stories are our best marketing tool for people to see who succeeds in our region. Our YouTube channel, our podcast, and our presence on social media platforms garner millions of views each year. For example, our Facebook page alone brought in 3.6 million views in the last 12 months. Another goal that was set forth in Beaufort's strategic plan was to compete for talent, aligning training with real job demand. SCA has led the region in partnering with state, federal, and local organizations to improve workforce training via better alignment with currently available jobs with local industries and prospective companies. We work directly with our regional's technical colleges, the South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce, also called SCDO, serving as a liaison with our existing industries and private training firms to tailor programs to help our local workforce gain the skills needed for better paying jobs. For example, this past February, we just opened the Advanced Manufacturing Innovation Center, a pilot project resulting from the collaboration with all of those workforce development partners I just mentioned at the state and local levels. And that is led by direct input from an advisory board made up of education and training leaders, community leaders, but also our industries, the ones that are actually creating the jobs. And this is to help people gain hands-on training for jobs that need to be filled right now. This project included us renovating a facility, getting equipment purchased, upfitting classrooms, and providing state-of-the-art training, and we are pleased to announce that later this week, we are going to graduate our first set of graduates in welding with NCCER certification and CDL. We are also offering industrial maintenance and machine tool technology and some forklift certification. So we can certainly help with those kinds of things. The Beaufort strategic plan also highlighted meeting the goals of the current challenges of future and current technology, infrastructure, and transportation demands, and we are willing and able to assist on those goals as well. One of the critical areas mentioned was transportation. Actually, SCA recently funded a marine transportation study, which examines a marine transportation system for our entire region and beyond, utilizing South Carolina's coastal waterways to transport visitors, hospitality workers, residents, and cargo in a more affordable, efficient way while preserving the natural environment and lessening the burden on our highways. We've been working with Beaufort County allies and SCIPMA, which used to be DITMA, and Senator Davis on this study, which the senator is now trying to expand. In addition, SCA also just funded an Airspace Advanced Air Mobility Assessment of our region to examine air cargo development, lead generation in the region, as well as how to better utilize our local airports. We will partner with the county and key transportation and infrastructure partners on these issues moving forward. Now, product development, that was also mentioned, that the county wants to build competitive sites and infrastructure that is suitable for the region. Now, this is what SCA does best. We have quite a record in product development, and we have the reputation as being the best in planning, funding, developing, and marketing industrial sites and properties in the state. In fact, I'm going to give you a few examples. SCA has helped facilitate the development of 6,300 acres along the I-95 corridor in smart development to serve the needs and goals of our member counties. And here are just some of the communities and developing industrial parks right along that I-95 corridor and beyond that we are currently developing. But our success story includes all kinds of partnerships, including partnering with private developers, as we did at Riverport, where they invested $249 million by the private developer and built out 4 million square feet, which is being filled as fast as they can build it. And here's some of the companies that have already located there. SCA also uses the model of, in this case, we purchased the Sherwood Industrial Tract because we identified it as being key for development. This has been developed for and vetted by several OEMs. We've made the short list several times. We haven't landed anything at Sherwood yet, but this is a great investment for SCA. And we have already attracted and sold part of the the property to North Point, where they have made a $200 million investment, and they have committed to creating 550 jobs on what used to be 514 acres of that Sherwood tract. Also, we've helped some of our rural counties identify large tracts of land to bring in manufacturing projects. One of the most recent ones is Hampton Lumber in Allendale County. They are investing $225 million in creating about 150 jobs there, 125 jobs. And this is very similar to another of SEA's first projects in that same county. We identified what used to be a cornfield, and we were able to attract West Fraser, which has now invested $500 million in Allendale County. We also have 30 years of experience in developing industrial parks and spec buildings for our member counties at no cost to the county governments. At the Crossroads Industrial Park, SCA has developed, we've been working on that for about 20 years, but we've developed 2 industrial parks there and 2 industrial buildings there. Both have been sold to manufacturers. And the latest is JGB Brothers. It's a Polish company. It's a food fiber company that's creating 40 jobs in rural Bamberg this year. And then again, we've partnered with groups like Agricel. They have built the Allendale spec building. They just completed a Hampton County spec building, and we are currently marketing those to help bring jobs to those rural counties. But probably the biggest accomplishment SCA's had so far is we developed the South Carolina Advanced Technology Park, which was a 1,600-acre park in Barnwell County, and there we have already recruited over 500 jobs, which are currently operating, and we've had over $500 million in investment there. And let me go on to the next one. Also, we work with counties where counties have already developed parks, such as the Low Country Industrial Park in Hampton County, which was already developed when they joined the Alliance in 2004. There, Le Creuset has expanded several times, and we just helped them with another expansion, which has doubled their investment. They're now up to 150 jobs at Le Creuset, and they have doubled their distribution, adding another 300,000 square foot industrial building there. And we also work well with multiple developers and landowners, as we did at Point South, where we not only worked with the landowner at the park, but we brought in a developer who built a spec building, and that's where we landed Builders First Source, a Fortune 500 company, which has created 126 jobs there. So we can definitely help you with your industrial development and your development with parks and sites, but also you mentioned in the strategic plan that there are some issues with land and space for development. Well, one of the things that SCA has done is we've helped our communities look at how to revitalize and to infill what they do have. That's why SCA has worked with all of our communities in bringing Retail Academy and retail strategies in, as Port Royal is currently working with us on this to create better strategies for downtown growth and commercial retail recruitment in limited spaces and small communities. We have funded and offered this program to our member communities since 2021. And this is a great marketing tool in looking at smaller properties and smaller footprint operations. Finally, the last goal that was mentioned in the strategic plan was supporting existing industries, existing businesses and entrepreneurship. And we've always done that with Beaufort County. We'll continue to do that. SC funded $50,000 toward the upfit and creation of the Southern Carolina landing pad here in Beaufort. And just this year, we invested $25,000 in helping expand the Don Ryan Center at the Cove. Also, we've assisted many companies with expansions, and we are happy to accompany Beaufort County on BRE visits and work with companies whenever they have issues and help identify additional ways that we can assist. So these are just a few of the ways that we can help and the way that our expertise can be used, and we look forward to continue working with Beaufort County. So please let us know how.
One of the first slides you talked about was the Southern Carolina Alliance, established in 1996, has 7 counties. We were the last one to join. We have our own county economic development. What do the other 6 have? Are they set up like us, or do you do it all for certain of the counties?
We do it all for, help me, Danny, five of the. Yeah, College and Beaufort are the only ones that we don't do it all for right now.
Why is that? Other than we have.
That's the county's choice. That's the county's choice. Yeah. And you might want Danny up here to address some of that as far as the structure and all, because he's usually one who's met with county councils in those areas.
That'd be helpful. Go ahead.
Before Danny comes up, on the Santec study, this is pretty cool. This ferry, is this like something from Europe or what? I mean,
I'll
it
let
looks
Danny address
very,
some of this
like,
too,
into the
because
future.
Danny's had his hands in all
Looks
of
into
that
the
as well.
future, yeah.
I'm retired. This is the 5th time I've retired.
I know.
I know. We don't want to let you go, Danny. And you know that.
I appreciate it very much, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. I missed the question you were asking. Did you?
Santec, this study, this is like
Oh,
a spaceship.
Santec.
Something into the future.
Yes,
Pretty
be quite frank, that turned out to be a fantastic opportunity. Of course, we worked with council, we worked with EDC and John, and we worked with Defusky Island. They actually came to us and asked us about funding this. We wound up spending a little over $120,000. We're going to get paid back, I hope, through some of the efforts of Senator Davis and Senator Hutto to work very closely with us, and we'll see how the budget goes. But the intention is to carry that to the next step. The reason we did it, quite frankly, was it needed to be done. We figured that out along with Defusky Island and others in Savannah in particular for tourist transportation, but also worker transportation, getting people back and forth. And the study has pointed out that if you do it for Defusky Island and spread that out as a region, you have a great opportunity to bring people from Georgia, South Carolina, back and forth as they're crossing the interstate and other roads now. Take those people off the highway by using the ferry system. The other is selfish. The other reason we wanted to do this, I don't know that slide if you saw it or not, but there's a electric boat that is being used in Europe that we are entertaining locating them in the low country. They're a little over 400 jobs, and that's okay, and a couple $100 million of investment long term. And that if we get to a point of having a ferry service that needed to go out and buy vessels for that operation, they're here to hopefully bid on that. So we think there's going to be a little growth in that. We also have been told that DOT is going to take that up the coast into Charleston and maybe even into Myrtle Beach because they want to look at the same model. So it's actually turned out to be great, and we appreciate all of y'all participating in that, helping us with that. That becomes a state project, I hope, very soon.
So, I mean, that would be my question. Will it be because while we're in the TAC, the Transportation Advisory Committee, one of the chairs of this group has emailed council several times. They want this included on the transportation referendum, and I advise them to go to TAC or speak to council. It's not included. So where are they going to get funding?
From the legislature. There's a proposal in from the legislature now through DOT. It's, I think it's $3.2 million, I believe, is what was asked for to reimburse us for the study and continuing the study under DOT. So I don't think anybody's asked anyone locally for funding at this point except us. And we put the money in, but we expect to get paid back. And this has become a huge mission for the DOT. They want to look at everything. We're not going to have passenger trains, but we certainly can use the ferry system up and down the coast. And there, as John has met with the SkyDrive, I get the names confused anymore. We met with several companies down at Hilton Head, and everybody wants to build drones, and they also want to build carrier drones too. And we're not in a position yet as a state to offer them the things they need, but we're trying to do that. So we're very excited about it, to be honest, and I think the DOT is too, but we want them to build I-95 before they get in this other stuff.
And so, I mean, it's a very exciting adventure. We've seen it. The cost of the ferries is one item. Then you have to have embarkation sites at all these sites, and that's another giant ticket. So I don't know if anybody's really, you got to have places for it to land, and so it's a lot of money.
Absolutely, and it's a big deal, and it's basically a two-state deal. Savannah is excited about it. We shared this with the port,
and with some of the other groups around Savannah. And y'all know about 30% of our people go to Georgia every day, crossing those bridges, working at the port, working at other businesses in Georgia. And I guarantee you that's that many, if not more, and we want more Savannah people coming our direction too. So hopefully this will work out for everybody and be a lot bigger than it started with.
Well, I'll wait to hear what SCDOT comes up with.
We're waiting to.
Okay.
More regulations.
More regulation, more charging us for design, more, yeah, we got it. Anything else for Danny?
It's actually Commerce that is really going to focus on this because they're going to convince the legislation to allow a ferry system. Once that is done, we are eligible for federal funding, and that's the huge carrot out there.
Yeah, it's turned into much bigger than just a ride back and forth to Dafuski.
Yeah.
All right, anything else for Danny Black?
This is
all right, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, any other questions or comments from anyone or online? Anybody? Ms. Howard? Mr. Reitz?
I'm all good. Very good presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Cunningham? Mr. McEllen? Oh, they're all very happy there. How about on the dais?
No, I don't have.
Quick question for the SCE. Education is vital. Talk to me about education and how do you work with our local institutions to make sure that skills, et cetera, are being met for growth.
So, Mr. Glover, you and I talked about it 10 years ago about trying
Still
to
talking about it.
get people trained better. It's vital. We're to a point now. I hate to say the bad news. I think John opened up the door for me to say this. We had one of our most established high-tech companies, international companies, is closing a piece of their operation today, actually going through the process today, and we'll lose about 80 jobs out of 400, hopefully no more than that. But they're screaming for skilled people. And skilled people, we had, I think on Kay's slide, there was a comment about CDL training, of course, electrical training, CNC operators, that type of thing. It used to be forklifts and safety and that kind of thing. That doesn't count anymore. That's a given. We got to get into more skill mix. And what we're trying to do, because of the industry pushing us so hard, to be honest, we've got the technical schools together. We've got private industry together. We've got others coming in outside of our region trying to figure out what do we offer and how do we pay for that and how do we get that down to the 8th grade students and elementary students in some cases to get them trained. We're working with Allendale County school system now to get STEM training on a lower level, start in the 6th grade, bringing them up, and then show them what they want to be, hopefully, in some of these craft jobs and others. You can be this and make $110,000 a day climbing a pole. I think Blakely's got climbing a pole and hooking electricity up. We're not training that, but we are now, thank goodness. But she needs about 100 linemen, and we got 6 graduating or so this year. So it's a demand, and part of economic development, and you've seen all kinds of things talked about today, but part of the economic development is making sure we got people trained. We have companies every day that look at us, and they look at us on the internet and other ways, and they see our population, they see our skill base, and they say that doesn't match up. That's a good place for us to be, but it doesn't match up. And we're losing to North Carolina, to Georgia, to other places. And we got to be better at what we do. And yes, sir, we are all about education.
Yeah, I met Mr. Simple at the strategic planning for Beaufort County Economic Development Board. So I was a part of that, and he was sitting at my table, and I talked to him about my grandson in North Carolina basically left college, and he went as a jobber, I guess is what is called as an electrician. And he worked for a company for 3 years who basically provided him all the skills, on-the-job training, and the schooling. He graduated last year. Still, I don't think he passed the test yet and stuff, but to be certified. But he basically has the skill as an electrician, and the company basically paid him X amount of dollars. I'm just wondering, as your organization, is that possible as a regional kind of setup where industries can come to you and say, we need these skills here, can you help us work through a program that we can basically have on-the-job training and see how that works?
Yes, sir.
And I use electrician because that's what he did, but you could be anything, any skill out there and stuff, on-the-job training where they're being paid and, at the same time, get educated.
There is a state program. There are local school systems, technical schools, et cetera, to do this kind of thing. In our region, we're not quite as advanced. And I know Beaufort County is this way. You're the number one leading county in the state in all aspects. However, we don't have a whole lot of skills in this region either. So we're trying to figure out how to get the apprenticeship program strengthened
that's
down
the word,
here.
apprenticeship.
We're working with Dr. Panu on trying to look at this aerospace opportunity and the Japanese opportunity we're trying to bring in. Our technical schools, Rich, before he announced his retirement, was part of this group that we were putting this together. But absolutely, we got to get, and the industry understands that. The problem industry has, and I worked in industry a long time too, if they're not 18, you got liability issues. So you can't put a kid in an electrical position at 16 years old. So we're trying to get the law changed a little bit to give them a little more flexibility. But wouldn't it be nice to get them in a vocational training but have that own hands experience before they get out of high school? They come out of high school with a certification and make $80,000, $90,000 a year instead of paying my alma mater, USC, $80,000 a year over 4 years to get a political science degree like I had and never worked in political science. So yes, we're trying to do that and we're trying to work hard on doing that, but the entire state's got to do it. We just got to have more emphasis down here.
Thank you.
I've said this before and I'll say it again since everybody's in the room for this one. I don't see why we're not building into the contracts for repairs, for HVAC, for everything that we do through the county, that we incorporate the TCL students and people that are in that program to get hands-on training built into our contracts. I mean, that seems like a win-win. We get hands-on training, the students can also get job placement and just utilize the contracts that we already issued, just build in a clause for it.
Absolutely, and I totally agree. And that's why in this training program that we've got now, and we shouldn't be in training, that's not our job, but it's got to be done. We're only concentrating on the things that you're going to hire immediately to get them into these very high-tech jobs and get them skills trained so they can get it. Again, I'm a political science major. The only reason I got a job is I worked in Milliken for 3 years before I graduated, and they gave me a job when I did graduate. But the days of, and I hate to say it, I hope you're not sociology majors, but the days of paying for a sociology degree, a philosophy degree, or something like that, kid wants to take that, it's fine. But I don't think we need to be paying for it. We got to pay for skills that are going to advance our industry and our job opportunities.
All right, I have one question for Mr. O'Toole and one for Mr. Moore, and I've put it out 100 times. The question to Mr. O'Toole is, please tell council that not aware, how much money is in the Job and Site Fund right now? I mean, I know, but maybe others don't.
I know.
I believe it's $2.8 million.
Okay, and the county in the budget, you are slated to receive 0.3 mils.
Correct.
What happens if council pulls the 0.3 mils? Because we're looking at how to, shave our budget. So what happens to you if that occurs?
Well, you might. We will work with whatever budget you deliver to us is probably the simple answer. Over the last 3 years, we were at 0.2. I think when Mr. Greenway was here, he had reduced us to 0.2. Then we were at 0.3. Then we were at 0.3, and then council moved it up to 1.3 last year. You said don't read into this. We had we got squeezed by a bunch of departments that needed their budgets increased. Board of Ed was in a tough spot, so we were told, oh, we're going to lower you to 0.3. I mean, at some point, staff will just read what's being told to them and plan accordingly. But whatever budget you deliver to us, we'll give you the best economic development we can for it.
Good answer. And Mr. Moore, the question to you and administration was, what is the value or return on investment of bringing EDC in-house versus on its own?
I think during the presentation, they hit on that earlier. The Economic Development Corporation did, in terms of the having it in-house versus a partnership. If you bring it in-house, you're looking at paying payroll, and we'd have to find a place to put them. That would be our budget, and then whatever else you wanted to give in terms of site and job fund, that would be something we'd look at, versus keeping it like it is, where you've got the Economic Development Corporation, they've got the nonprofit, and they can go out and they can get other types of funding that we typically would not get as a straight department. And I had experiences, that was a department in York County. Essentially, you're paying for the staff, and then they're going to go out and do the work. So
we're essentially paying for the staff now and paying for them to use the Cove, and we're paying for all of that.
Correct.
Meager amount from the municipalities, but the county's paying for all that right now. Okay. Anybody else question, comment?
Question. How much are our dues to the Southern Alliance? Annually?
Yes.
Yeah.
You want me to repeat it? How much do we pay for dues in the Southern Alliance annually?
$120,000.
Approximately.
Yeah.
120 per year, and that was based on negotiations we had with the administration at that time. We have normally charged more to the counties. Well, let me back up. We base that, like most counties do, on population. I think you pay, like the COG, you pay a certain amount of money for it based on population. We tried to use that model. It didn't quite work in our smaller counties because we had to charge them a little bit more. I think we wound up with $60,000 in the small counties and $120,000 in Beaufort, even though you had 200,000 people. That was the number we negotiated out.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Bartholomew.
Yeah, well, is there anybody else that has a question? If there's no other questions, I would make a motion that we open up back up public comment during the break. There was a few people that wanted to come up and make additional comments, so I'd make a motion to open back up the public comment portion.
Or how long?
Just a couple minutes, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a motion on the floor. Somebody want to second it?
Sure. Second that.
It's seconded by Ms. Brown. All right. All in favor of that motion to open up another public comment section? 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you. It passes. All right.
Opposed.
Okay. All right. So you can duke it out who comes first. Come on up. She's got the timer up there.
Thank you again. I'm Paul Trask. The issue of the contamination on this 117-acre site has been misrepresented to you. I happen to have a copy of the deed. That deed says Tract 1A is conveyed subject to the restrictive covenants recorded at book 2839, page 1652, which I pulled up and which you can pull up. That site, that particular parcel, is not across the street, as you were told. It is right here in the middle of the property. That is 1A. It's not over here. Over here, probably that's the site of the chemical plant. Probably that's contaminated too. But this parcel right in the middle is subject to these restrictions, which say points. They're subject to consent orders. They're subject to covenants that run with the land for 89 years. They're subject to maintaining certain remedial measures. So, you know, this property, you've bought this property, the county, Beaufort County Economic Development, via the county, has paid $1.5 million for this 117 acres. There's no water, there's no sewer. To turn this into, it's contaminated, to turn this into a meaningful piece of property that could be developed is going to cost millions of dollars. Where are you going to get the sewer? Where are you going to get a substantial amount of water? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but this group is not capable of developing this site. That is a fact. Thank you.
Anyone else care to speak? All right, Mr. Trask, number 2. I don't know what to tell you, but okay.
Mr. Glover.
Sorry, go ahead. You personally going to address me?
If that's okay.
I prefer not. I prefer you to address the chair.
I'm going to make some assertions. I'm going to make some assertions. Yeah, fine. Mr. Glover is conflicted. Mr. Glover is conflicted in his interactions with the BC EDC. Mr. Glover is part of an organization.
I would prefer if you
that
just
has
say one council member.
One council member, and unless he recuses himself, I am going to go to the ethics committee. Okay? It gives the perception of conflict, number 1. Number 2, page 54. Can you pull up page 54?
Of which one?
Page 54. Of the presentation. I know. Last page of the presentation. How about that?
This one's 54.
Last page of the presentation. Everything. Just go to the end. There it is. So you've invested $6.1 million. You are asserting that you are responsible for $765 million of taxable property? That's what that says. I went and looked up the property values of the 9 things you've invested in, and they come to $19.6 million. How can you assert that you're responsible for $765 million? Number 2.
What's 2? Go ahead. You're on 3.
Number 3. Can you go back to page 28 where you assert you've created 2,656 jobs? There it is. One more up. It's 3 slides.
I don't feel well.
Your own documents right here. Your own documents right here show 146 jobs. How can you assert 2,000 and some odd jobs? This organization will tell you whatever will save his job. His job pays him $200,000. You pay $120,000 to the SCA. You pay him over $200,000. Defund the BC EDC and replace it with the SCA. It's that simple. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No one else talking? Fleet? No one else? Is that it? Oh, we have to adjourn. Yeah, we're going to adjourn the, okay. Okay, we'll give you 3 minutes and then we're going to adjourn this meeting.
I have to make a few points. Part of my reason for being vehemently opposed to continuing business with the BC EDC, I have told you I do not trust them. I think they've said many untruths. I think they'll say anything, actually, to get your support. And this presentation, as I said, doesn't answer many questions, and I think middle school could have put it together. Okay, this came off the website for the BCEDC. It says that the incentive to Glassworks was $2,352,402. You said we spent nothing. So there's an incentive on their website that helps them out to that $6 million at the end. The other thing that I personally caught them in saying was how much the Parker Drive cost. And I looked at both appraisals. One appraisal said it was worth $36,000 an acre. The more recent appraisal said it was the 18 acres for $460,000 was worth $25,000. But you were told you paid for a deal at $31,000, and you were lied to that day when you asked the question. That's why I have a big problem with the county doing business with this organization. We've not been told the truth. I'd like to know the relationship. I'd like to know the relationship with Mr. Trask, not the two in the room, and the purchase of the $1.6 million property that, thank you, is not county money. And what was done with that Trask, I believe it's John Trask.
Correct.
And Lebeco. Dig deep, get questions answered. Don't be sheep. You're accountable for our money. I told you, not the BCEDC. Please.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.